Welcome, Aries, Gemini, and Taurus. This is your week ahead astrology forecast by Born Without Boundaries Tarot here on Astrology Motivation. This is for the week of September 28th through October 4th, 2023, as we come into the big stuff. This is going to be a little bit different. I'm basically grouping all of you guys together simply because I realized the big stuff is the same for everybody. So from now on, I'm just going to cover the big stuff, and then I will leave timestamps to when I parse out all the individual zodiac signs. So Aries, Gemini, Taurus, you will still have your Aries specific and the 3 decans of Aries. You will still have that. I'll place the timestamp below in the description box and in the comment section so that you can easily navigate this video. But let's start out with the big stuff, okay? So the big stuff right now is, well, the full moon. We have a full moon in Aries, between 5 and 6 degrees Aries. It's going to start early in the morning. Here in the United States, it'll be early in the morning. So I guess the best time to view it will be late at night on the 28th, or which is today, or the next night it still will be pretty full. On the night of the 29th, it will still be pretty full as well. So those 2 nights you'll get a nice view of it. Now, what does a full moon in Aries mean? Well, I have created a video for you to watch where I go into depth as to what the full moon in Aries means. But ultimately, it's a time, all full moons are a time for us to release energy, and the moon takes on the energy of the zodiac sign it's in. And in Aries, that is a volatile, angry energy. So if you're already feeling like explosive, you're going to understand why. This is very pop-off-ish energy because those emotions need to be released. We're frustrated, we're angry about something. Anything that you've had those blocks, it will come out. It'll be explosive. So this is volatile emotion that needs to be released in order for us to get the flow back together, that we're done. It's getting in our way, so we have to let it go. The full moon is going to be semi-square to Uranus, while the sun in Libra is semi-square to Venus. Why is this important? Because both those energies are, I'm sick of the old shit and I need new shit. You know, I need something different. I need to switch this up. I need to change this. So if we're starting to run more experimental, or we're starting to just insist on something different, it's because we want the joy, we want the spice, we need to move around in order for that flow to come back. It's like we've almost grown numb in a way, and we need to bring circulation back into the area. We're gonna kind of explode when that circulation begins, for the warmth and the heat and the rush to come back into us. So that is on the 28th. We also have, I wrote this down. I gotta be sure that I read to you everything that I write down. Mars conjuncting the South Node in Libra, which has a lot to do with the past lives, what we're familiar with. This is also square to Pluto, however, which intensifies everything. So there's a lot of extremeness going on here. Anything that we haven't dealt with from the past, anything we haven't been able to accomplish, like clogs, or because of our comfort zones, this stuff needs to be mixed up and stirred up. We will have a chance to correct something from the past. We will have a chance to correct something from the past, guys. As we move into more deeper into the astrology, we also realize that Mercury is in opposition to Neptune. Mars is here, let's see, conjunct the South Node in Libra. It's sextile to Venus. It's trine to Saturn. It's square to Pluto. It's quincunx to Neptune and opposite Chiron. Oh my God. Like, Mars is interacting on so many different levels in the overall energy right now, that I think especially Aries will be highly stimulated. But I think the warrior is frustrated. The warrior is antsy. It wants to get back to doing what it does best, which is making moves and pushing forward. And it's pissed at anything or anyone that has held it back. It's not doing so well with what it can't figure out or what the problems have been. This conjunction to the South Node is going to give it a peek into the past to understand what exactly the happened and how can I fix it, or how can I move on from this. So hopefully this week is also going to bring some illumination from us. Maybe a mistake we made. So oftentimes we're making a mistake, we make a decision and we think, oh, this is the right thing to do, when in reality it actually worked out completely opposite. So the revelation of that is something that we really need. It's going to make it difficult that Mercury is opposite Neptune right now, because there has been some deception, there has been some misinterpretation, and ultimately that energy is really profound right now, especially because Mercury is trine to Pluto and trine to Uranus. Yeah, it's in a grand trine as it's in opposition to Neptune. I wrote something down. This can make whatever our brain is telling us seem really loud and seem really intelligent. But there's something here that doesn't make any sense. And intuitively, you are going to be picking up on it. And you're going to need to believe it and trust it and figure out how to comprehend it. And that is going to be tricky. And I think that's what's triggering a lot of impulsivity and anger this week. We also have Venus very active as well, with her sextile to Mars. By the end of the week, she'll be in opposition to Saturn. She's trying to she's square to Uranus all week long. This is combustible energy, actually. Venus is sick and tired of the norm and being restricted and held back. At the end of this week, going into next week, that opposition to Saturn can just make us really sad, really, really agitated, feeling like nothing really shines, like nothing really, everything is so serious, sort of like the doldrums. So I would say to you guys that compassion is key this week for yourself and for others, because the answers are not going to be clear until this energy passes. And that will go into next week as Mercury clears Neptune, right? And Mars starts to clear the south node. There has to be some clarity that's coming more toward the middle of October. So let's get into the specifics, shall we? Once again, this is for the week of September 28th through October 4th, 2023. We're going to start with Aries, since we do have a full moon in your sign. And if you are Aries 1, so if your natal suns are somewhere between 0 and 10 and 9 degrees Aries, which correlates to birthdays, basically March Aries, so between March 22nd and March 31st, is that? No, April 1st. That would be you guys. So the full moon is going to be conjunct your natal suns on the 29th. This is a very powerful energy. It's very angry energy. It's very emotional energy, and yes, it is going to impact you, especially since your natal suns are also semi-square to Uranus. There is an energy of, I want change and I want it now, and I'm going to punch walls in order to break them down. There is that, I just can't take this bullshit anymore. So being very compassionate towards yourself and others, and giving yourself the space and time you need so that you don't let your volatility get the best of you is very important, especially the 28th, 29th, and 30th of this week of September. All week long, your natal suns are in opposition to the sun, so you'll feel a lack of energy, you'll feel a lack of self-confidence, you'll feel like a trouble having courage, and also discouragement, some sort of self-consciousness going on. That is challenging energy, to say the least, as well. That can add to the volatility of the moon. You know, it's almost like you feel castrated in a way. Not that you literally are, God hope not, but that you feel that way. You know, that sense of, and you know what? Sometimes you got to throw your hands in the air and say, I can't do anything. The universe has to shift so I can. And that's kind of honestly the position that you're in right now. There is a quincunx to Venus, which tells me a lot of this could be pent-up sexual frustration, this sense of not getting it, or not being able to express yourself in the ways that you want to, or not feeling pleasure from it anymore. And that could have been built up too. If that is the case, you really need to confront it and realize it, especially if you're in a long-term partnership with somebody. This sextile to Pluto is going to give you a very potent energy to everything that you do. And if you confront people, they will move in your direction because of that sextile to Pluto. So if you can find the strength and the courage to actually confront and admit this to yourself and speak about it to others, you may yell, you may scream at first, but ultimately the point is to get it out, release it, and try to understand it. You let me know in the comments below how you're dealing with this energy. Let's move on to Aries 2. So if you know that your natal sun is between 10 and 19 degrees Aries, it's in the second decan of Aries. You guys are Aries 2. This correlates to birthdays between, say, April 2nd to April 11th. That's you guys. Not a lot going on for you. Long-term conjunction to Chiron, which is making you super serious about fixing things, fixing hardships, and learning from them, taking things very seriously when it comes to making life better, especially for other people. And then we have an opposition to Saturn, which has been long-term as well. Not opposition, I'm sorry, semi-square to Saturn, which just means there is agitation here with the way things have always been. Something is frustrating you about obligations, commitments you've made, rules, laws, anything that's locking you down is starting to agitate the crap out of you, or increased responsibility may be agitating the crap out of you as well. So anything that makes you feel confined and trapped is going to really trigger you to not want to be around it for the next year, to be honest. Watch for the volatility of this Aries full moon. Even though your natal suns are not conjunct it, there's still this energy that you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it, and this could be a time when a lot of anger and frustration comes out. Aries 3. If you know that your natal sun is between 20 and 29 degrees Aries, this correlates to birthdays between, say, April 12th through the 22nd. That would be you guys. That's Aries 3. Your natal suns are conjunct the North Node and opposite the South Node, which means they're also opposite Mars. This is very volatile energy. It is sometimes dangerous energy because there's more likelihood of being impulsive and getting injured. Physical injuries, harm to yourself. This is not being in as much control over your actions as you would like to be. This could make you very volatile during the full moon, and I would really try to take space and give yourself and other people extra time and space, and be extra compassionate, especially around the 28th through the 30th. FYI, you have a trine to Venus, so there is a sense of loveliness and grace in your personality that could actually help you out right now, or an ability to express yourself eloquently. And then we also have a quincunx to Mercury, so no, in communications, there's going to be frustrations. Really interesting. So you're going to be highly attractive, right? But at a time when communications and volatility are really fakaked and chaotic. So that could very well be that there needs to be a release of tension and sexual frustration and energy coming out of you. We have a sextile to Saturn for the full year. This means getting things done, taking responsibility for yourself, progress when it comes to career, but this is long-term, over the course of the year. So right now, in terms of this week, I still think things are a shit show, but that energy could help to ground you a lot. And the square to Pluto just makes you very powerful. It makes you almost intimidatingly powerful. This is not a great week for you to take major chances, or it's basically anything you do this week can be perceived as bullying. I just want to let you know that because there's a volatility in the air that has that feeling about it, whether or not that's how you intended it. And the fact that people are going to be wanting to be really close to you because of that trine to Venus could make it even more dangerous and more volatile in a way, especially if you feel yourself getting pop-offish. So I think this is a great time for you to take space, to be honest, and keep yourself out of trouble. Or try to be, I don't even want to say no, don't be physical. This is just that sense of, I think chaos is a really great word for it, especially with that opposition to Mars. You could also feel like your energy is drained in a way, or that something is off about it. Like you want to take action, but you don't feel in sync somehow. which can just lead to frustration. This is a great time to sort of, especially with that trine to Venus, give yourself a day of beauty, give yourself a day of self-care, you know, give yourself that time to like put your energy into spoofing up the house or beautifying your life and your situation and trying to be as romantic as possible. It could actually be your love life or your financial situation that benefits the most from all this chaos. Let's move on to Taurus. So I gotta say, Taurus, there's not a lot going on for you guys. Your ruling dignitary is Venus, and she is highly active, and we're going to get into that. In Taurus, you have Jupiter at 14 degrees and Uranus at 22 degrees. So everybody who is Taurus 2s conjunct Jupiter still, Taurus 3s conjunct Uranus still. We'll talk about what it means when we get into the decans. What is Venus doing? Well, she's highly active this week, and through the second, she is still trine to Chiron, which means that is grounding her. After that, however, she goes on, which is sort of like making peace with how you feel about your own personal value and worth. And then but then she moves into, by the 4th, this opposition to Saturn, which can make you extremely sad, which can make you feeling extremely restricted, or that you're not being appreciated or valued the way that you want to be. She's going to be trying the North Node and sextile to the South Node, so opportunities from the past can actually help to harmonize or make the present, the future, or where you're headed a lot more adaptable and a lot more attractive. She's also sextile to Mars all week, so she want to be taking action, but more toward the future. She'll want to be taking action, especially with that square to Uranus. She'll want to be taking action more toward the future and things that are different and doing things differently. Uniqueness will appeal to you. Things outside of the box, maybe newer technology, will seem more valuable to you this week. Let's go into the decans of Taurus. We have Taurus 1s. So this would be Tauruses that are born basically in April, say April 22nd through May 1st. That would be in and around you guys. We have a semi-square to the sun, which can cause a lot of frustration when it comes to your self-esteem. It can make you more pop-offish. It can also make you more arrogant and egotistical this week, or feel like more people are like questioning your value or not seeing you the way that you want to be seen. You also have a long-term sextile to Saturn, which could very well ground you and give you the gravity of character to be okay through this minor aspect of the sun quincunx the sun, or your natal sun's quincunx the sun. I'm sorry, so this is for Taurus 1, if your natal suns are between 0 and 9 degrees Taurus, and that would be April Tauruses. That would be you guys. Let's go on to Taurus 2s. So if you know that your natal sun is between 10 and 19 degrees Taurus, your natal suns are in the second decan of Taurus. You guys are Taurus 2s. This correlates to birthdays from like May 1st through the 11th, May 2nd through the 11th, in and around those days. Your natal suns are the ones conjunct to Jupiter. This gives us big-headedness. This gives us that expectation of grandiosity, right? It also gives us confidence and optimism, and that's really good. So if we can stay unentitled for the next couple of months, that's going to be the best use of this energy. But if you are born especially between the 10th and the 11th or 12th, really, it goes into the third decan. And interestingly enough, somebody had asked me, why can't you put timestamps for the decans as well? I'm like, first of all, that's going to take up too much space in the comment section and the description box. That's kind of ridiculous. But second of all, it's because of things like this, because things aren't blocked out perfectly. It's about the aspect, which is about the degrees. It's not about where your sun is lumped. So sometimes things run between the two decans. So it's important to listen to the whole decan piece. If your natal suns are, or you were born between May 10th and May 15th, especially, you are semi-square to the full moon. So this will be very agitating and potent energy for you, especially to excite change. This could cause more frustration in you, more anger. I wouldn't say rage, but I would say that it will draw your attention to things that you really need to stop ignoring. Let's put it that way. And then, of course, we have Taurus 3s if you're born between the 10th and the 15th. So your natal suns for Taurus 3s are between 20 and 29 degrees Taurus. In terms of birthdays, this is usually, say, around the 12th through the 22nd of May. But that's estimate, right? So definitely if your birthday is between the 10th and the 15th, you are going to be semi-square this full moon. The 28th, 29th, and the 30th could be extra agitating, causing frustration, trying to draw your attention to stuff that you need to pay attention to. It just won't be ignored anymore. Your natal suns are conjunct to Uranus, which means there's an interesting aspect of independence about you anyway. And then you have a square to Venus this week, which means there's definitely interesting intrigue, like I want to switch it up. This could lead to a lot of volatility, sexual attraction outside of your relationships, wanting independence, or being turned on by things that normally didn't turn you on. So this is a very kind of outside of the box time for you right now, especially in terms of what you're attracted to, and even in terms of what you're attracted to, what you value, and your finances could do a lot of stuff that surprises you. There's a quincunx to Mars, which can also make you a little bit more impulsive and prone to pop off. And then we have this long-term sextile to Neptune, trine to Pluto, which is about dynamic and permanent change anyway. Extremely creative energy, extremely potent energy about your character and your nature, but also very psychic energy, very intuitive energy. I would trust your intuitions before anything else right now. I would really trust it. And if you're getting dreams or you have these inklings, I would look into them when your mind is clear. And then we already talked about the semi-square to the full moon. So ultimately, Taurus, ultimately Taurus, there's not huge things that are happening, but especially I would say Taurus 2s to 3s. So if your birthdays are between the 12th and the 15th of May, it will be especially you guys that really feel the energy of that full moon the most, or have the most direct impact on your life. FYI. Let's go on to Gemini. So Gemini, I'm sorry. What's going on in the zodiac sign of Gemini? Really nothing until the end of the week. Between October 3rd and October 4th, the moon will be in Gemini. And that's when the moon will conjunct Gemini 1s and 2s. Let's talk about Mercury right now. So Mercury is very active. It's in Virgo between 20 and 29 degrees Virgo, which means it's almost exiting. By the end of this week, it will transit into Libra, which is kind of indecisive energy, to say the least. But while we're in Virgo, it's still very pragmatic energy, but it's also being interrupted by that frickin' opposition to Neptune. This is distracting energy. It is hard to recognize the truth kind of energy. It is, if you're communicating through any way, you should listen to your intuition, but that can also get in the way because you're trying to make sense out of it, and things will not make sense, or as much sense as they usually do for you. To make this even worse, Mercury is forming a sesquiquadrate quadrate to Jupiter, which will sort of exaggerate things as in words or thoughts. And that trine to Pluto that Mercury is in, as well as that trine to Uranus, it can make things sound more powerful than they really are. And with the distractibility of Neptune working upon you, this is not the greatest time for you guys to make any great decisions, or to trust your, I don't want to say you should not trust your own brain, but I would get a second opinion on everything, especially important things this week. There is also a proclivity for you guys, especially Virgo as well, to over exaggerate and believe things, to not be as logical as you normally would be, and to maybe over exaggerate or over promise. Use your words in a way that exaggerates the truth. So just be aware of that. Let's break things into the decans, shall we? Gemini 1, if you know that your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Gemini, it's in the first decan of Gemini. So you guys are Gemini 1s. This correlates to birthdays that are basically at the end of May, May 22nd through the 31st would be you guys. Your natal suns will be conjunct the moon on October 3rd. This can actually just give you a peaceful energy, because when the sun conjuncts the moon, representing the two very important parts of you, and the fact that they're together, it kind of gives an easement to your energy and an understanding, a wholeness to your character. Your natal suns are in a long-term square to Saturn, which means there's still challenges to progress. It's almost like life is busting your balls this year. That's kind of what it is, because this semi-square to Chiron is going to accentuate that as well. This sense of, Jesus, why can't I get anything done? Why is everything so freaking difficult? And it's because of that. It's because of that energy. We also have a trine to the sun this week, which will be helpful energy, at least with understanding maybe it's not my fault and I just need to lay back a little bit and can let the universe work it out, because this is some crazy shit right here. There is courage available to you. There is confidence available to you that will help you through the more difficult energy this week. Let's go on to Gemini 2. If you know that your natal sun is between 10 and 19 degrees Gemini, you are Gemini 2. That correlates to birthdays between, say, June 1st and the 11th. Your natal suns are going to be conjunct the moon on October 4th. This is also very helpful energy. On October 4th, it could be just a peaceful day. This easement of sorts when it comes to who you are, who you are, knowing yourself. But you have a long-term sextile to Chiron as well. That's all year long. And ultimately, I think past this year, past the end of this year, for the next year. And that's being inspired by hard lessons from the past, and finding opportunities are coming from the challenging lessons that you have experienced, as well as opportunities to help other people as well. So all of those things are really great, and that could be where you're gaining inspiration from right now. Let's talk about Gemini 3s. If you know that your natal suns are between, I always lose track, 20 and 29 degrees Gemini, you guys are Gemini 3s. This correlates to birthdays about June 12th through the 22nd. The 22nd will probably be some Cancerians too. I know that some Geminis are 22nd as well. Your natal suns this week are square to Mercury, which is an opposition to Neptune. This is going to be especially distracting energy for you. Definitely check your sources, check things twice, and ask for second opinions. Not the greatest week for you guys to sign any important paperwork or make any important promises. Just an FYI. You also have a square to Neptune. So your natal suns fall right in the center of the Mercury-Neptune opposition. This is very distracting energy. This is very difficult energy. This is also maybe the challenge that this is giving you could give you some insight into the bullshit that's happening around you. Not to say that people will believe you when you speak, which is also why it's not the greatest week to try to do anything important or make yourself heard. Your natal suns are sextile to Venus, which means there is a sex appeal about you. There's an attractiveness about you. This could be very nice energy when it comes to dating and flirting, especially casually, being fun and playful. The sextile to the North Node and trine to the South Node also means that you're starting to find it more appealing or interesting, the things that you normally or hadn't, right? Things that are opposite to what you kind of identify yourself as. You're starting to be more interested in those things. This is a sign of maturation and growth, sort of a turning point in your character. So that's going to be going on for the next couple of months. Yeah, and this quincunx to Pluto will just sort of exacerbate everything and give your personality a bigger punch to it. Not volatile, but as in dynamic. This sense of people will pay attention to you more, and you might be a lot more intimidating than you normally are for the next year. So I would say all in all, more of a week to be playful and flirty and experimental than to be serious or take anybody so seriously, or take it seriously if other people aren't taking you seriously. Just an FYI. I love you guys so much, and I hope this video helped you out. Please leave your comments below, and don't forget to like the video and share it with people that you think would enjoy it too. Please subscribe to over here on Astrology Motivation, and then come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot and check out your week ahead tarot card reading. I love you guys. See you in the videos.